Hey guys, Jason here, Samco Workshop. Today we're talking about why I chose a 35x11.50 rather than a common 35x12.50 for the tires for this Jeep Gladiator Rubicon and or Jeep Wrangler if you have it, or any of that kind of stuff. But why I went with a 35x11.50, which is what we have right here, true 35x11.50. It's not a P metric size. You can see it right there. And these are Toyo Open Countries. I don't recommend these tires. They're wearing quicker than I would expect them to. These have only 15,000 miles on them, and most of it being in the dirt. As you can see, it's always dirty. But these have less tread life on them than these that have 30,000 miles on these Falcon Wild Peaks, and they were the same tread depth to start with. These have got 30,000 highway miles, and they have less wear on them than these have at 15,000 miles of mainly dirt. So I would not buy the Toyo Open Countries again, but we do have 35x11.50s on here. And well, so why do we do that rather than going with a 35x12.50 1 inch wider, okay, which is the most common tire out there on Jeeps, 35x12.50? Well, there are some reasons to it. First one, and the most important one, being that you gain nothing from a wider tire in real off-road. As you know, if you guys follow my videos and stuff, I live in the swamps and in the mud. Okay, my truck looks like this every single day. I mean, my wife's always yelling at me. My driveway is literally just covered with mud everywhere all the time. She gets really pissed at me because my whole side of the driveway is completely black. Hers is all nice. But I mean, I live in the mud all the time. There's no doubt about it. With that said, what happens is, your gain, your advantage to a 35-inch tire is in the height. Okay, we get this distance from here to here, which allows us much more protection, sidewall protection, but we also get the air down and up factor, and we have that. We get more cushion in there, and we get our ground clearance comes from this. This is where our ground clearance comes from. The overall tire. So we went from a 33 to a 35. That's 2-inch difference. Does that mean we gained 2 inches of ground clearance? No, it means we gained 1 inch of ground clearance, because here's where the axle is, and there's only 1 inch of this circumference is below that halfway line. So we only gain 1 inch, but it gives me 1 inch of more clearance over what was stock on here. And when I air this down, that bigger circumference, that whole 35-inch, starts to spread out more and gives a much longer footprint, which is where your traction comes from. The sidewall depth gives me traction to get over rocks and roots, and for the tire to flex over that stuff and do that to advantage. So the width gains really gives you nothing, because the rim won't let the tire come out any wider than what it is. When you air this down, your tire is not really going to come out much wider, but it's going to come out much longer. So there's not really a lot of advantage to a wider tire, but there's a ton of advantage to a taller tire. Now, the other big factor is that the weight factor of these, okay? Some tires are not too super far apart in weight-wise between a 35x11.50 and a 35x12.50, but some of them can be as much as 7 pounds difference in weight per each wheel. And with that being rolling resistance and spinning mass weight on the end of your tires, that's a tremendous amount, and can really dog you down and take away the power. So that's a big factor there too. Now, the other one is the fact that these are the stock Jeep rims. You can see the little logo right here, buried in under here. Okay, little Jeep logo, but these are the stock Jeep rims. They are a 7.5-inch wide rim. Putting a 35x11.50 fits into the 7.5 width maximum, which we're allowed, so we can put this tire on and we're not going to get uneven tread wear. Okay, if you put a 35x12.50 on this angle comes out too much, and you're going to get bowing, and you're going to get bad tread life wear. And so in order to go to a 35x12.50, I also have to change your wheels. Changing the wheels costs money, but changing the wheels also takes away from the value, okay? Any of those mods that you do on your own that are not factory options, you are reducing the value of the vehicle. I know that because I buy and sell a new vehicle every 18 months. So I'm telling you, if I take these wheels off, and then I turn around and I spend another, say I spent another $1,000 even, and bought bought my own wheels, spent another $1,000 on those, I would depreciate the value of this vehicle by putting those other wheels on them. So it's important to me to keep that factor, so when I go to sell it, I'm going to get the most money out of it. But it also saves me money. So these cost me, I paid $1,900 for 4 plus the spare tire under there. these 35x11.50, so I bought 5 tires for that, and they're all mounted on the stock rims. Had I wanted to go to a 35x12.50 and I did the same exact thing, it would cost me a minimum of $1,000 more, probably closer to $1,500 more, to get the rims and wheels and everything set too as well, because I could not put the tires on any of these rims. So there's a big cost factor there. And again, a 35x12.50, that 1-inch wider tire, does not give me any off-road benefit whatsoever. There's no value to that. Now, does it look cool? Yeah, they look cool. There's no doubt about it. If I was a mall crawler or somebody who just did light surface dirt roads occasionally, a 1250 tire looks fantastic. I mean, they look fantastic. But now the other factor is, notice I have, I keep the stock offset. I don't have any tires sticking out past those fenders. Notice that? See that? Okay, and even up in the front, that's a beautiful thing when we look at this. And I'll explain it better here in a second for you. But notice that my tires don't really come out past the fenders. Now look at the mud lines on my truck. Okay, look at how very little dirt is on here on the side panel of my truck. Now remember, all this stuff is scratching. Okay, this stuff is just like sandpaper and cement, and it scratches. Everything gets scratched. Stone chips, dings, look at this. Okay, I mean, this is serious stuff here. That you see this buildup on here. I mean, this sucks. This is not good for your vehicle at all. All right, and but we noticed that mine is pretty mild, because the wheels are stuck in the fenders. The fenders are taking all of that abuse for me and keeping it protected and keeping it all locked in here. Look at here on the back. Look at all the mud that's hitting here. When I turn those wheels, it's still throwing from there. It's hitting here, but because I don't have a bigger offset on there, it's not throwing it into the vehicle. When I turn those wheels, kind of like they are, the fender catches it. When I turn it the other way, this fender is catching it, but the body is protected for the most part, buried back in here. But I mean, look at this stuff. This is insane. I mean, look at this. This is, there's crazy amounts here. And then, as I've shown you in other videos, the stone chips and dings that are in these fenders are unbelievable. I mean, these things are all chewed up underneath here from rocks hitting it. If I had bigger tires, that would be doing the same thing to the side of my truck. Okay, they would be throwing and some people are like, no, it doesn't, because you're driving straight. It doesn't matter when you're driving straight. If I turn, like you see, this wheel is slightly turned on that angle a little bit. If this stuck out with offset in a wider tire and you had to go more offset on there, anything out here in this outer row of tread is going to throw straight into my vehicle. And then all those rocks are going to be skipping off and beating it up and doing everything there. And we don't want that. So, for my opinion, that's a big factor for me. Staying with a tire that fits inside my wheel well means that I'm protecting my vehicle as best as I possibly can. I love that these are actually, in my opinion, these are like a disposable version item right here. Before I sell this vehicle, I will probably buy new ones of these. The front ones are fine, but I'll probably replace these so that they are not all chewed up. But right now, they're a wearable item and they're not that expensive, So a few $100 before I dump it to make those look brand new again will be easy. But right now, you can see the abuse they take. You can see the abuse that all of this stuff it takes constantly in the mud. And wherever you see mud is where rocks are hitting and bouncing and scraping as well too. Okay, any of this stuff is getting dinged up by rocks. Even, if the mud's here, the rocks are hitting it. You can see the protection that we have from these fenders, where the only mud that's coming up the side of the vehicle is from down here, where there's no protection. It's coming up from here and shooting straight up on there. You can see that angle in that line on there. Had these tires been sticking out another, if you put another ½ inch of tire on the outside and another, ½ inch of offset in the wheel to make them fit, now we have not just coming from here, it's coming from everywhere all along here. And then we start running into bigger problems. So that's the reasons that I went with a simple 35x11.50. I get all the benefit of a 35-inch tire, none of the drawbacks. I do not beat my vehicle up, and I did not have to spend money on different wheels, and I don't have all that extra rotating mass on all four corners taking power away from me and robbing me of gas mileage and that kind of stuff. And I'll get less of that road noise down the road, that whoom, 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 as you start to wear and they start making noise. I will get less of that because I have a narrower tire. It's 1 inch narrower than your common one is, and it looks very good. and it serves its purpose, and it's got everything that we're looking for without the money and without the downsides to it. That's the reason that I chose 351150s over the more common that you see on these things of a 351250. Not taking nothing away from a 351250. If that's your thing and you want to do it, more power to you, because like I said, 99% of people do. These are the reasons I chose a 351150. I'm super happy I did, and I will not change that to it. I'll never go to a 351250 on this vehicle. I will stick with these. Matter of fact, when these Toyos wear out, I will be I'm going right back to where my tried, true, and favorite, the Wild Peak, Falcon Wild Peak right here. Now, I want to try that AT4, but like I said, these tires here, blow the doors off those Toyos. Even the depth of the side cutters, the depth of all this stuff. Like I said, I'm actually not very impressed with these Toyos. I'm pretty disappointed. So I'm excited to, when those are done and I wear those down, I will put the new AT4 from Falcon. If they would have made this tire in a 351150 2 months ago, I would have bought it and put them on here automatically. They don't make the AT3 in that, and the AT4 wasn't out yet. Okay, now the AT4 is out, which is an improved version of this, and they make it in a 351150. So the version 4 of this is what will be my next tire on this in this exact same size. So there you go, little, something that people keep asking me in the comments. Why 351150? Why not go 351250? There's your answers right there. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.